Janusz Onyszkiewicz, Center for International Relations at the Euro-Atlantic Association. Mr. Secretary General, I have another question referring to your emphasis on Article 5 and security guarantees. In the list of threats you actually presented, there is, for example, a cyber attack. Cyber attack is not clearly a threat which is absolutely covered by Article 5, which quite specifically refers to military attack. Well, there are also other threats like energy security. And so my question is, to what extent the new strategic doctrine, new strategic concept would also reflect to these new threats and will sort of extend the security guarantees to the threats which are not traditionally covered by the Article 5. Thank you.
I sense there is a broad consensus within the alliance that the new strategic concept should address appropriately the new threats, be it cyber attacks, be it energy security, proliferation, terrorism, piracy. The whole list of new threats should be dealt with in the new strategic concept. Well, I'm not a legal expert, and maybe it could be misinterpreted what I will say now, but anyway, I'm a politician. So I don't care about articles. I care about defense. I care about effective protection of our populations. And I feel pretty sure that if there is a consensus on what we have to deal with, which new threats we should address, then we will find an appropriate article to base it on.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you. Tengiz Pkhaladze from Georgia, Center for Geopolitical Studies. My question comes to Mr. Secretary General. Your Excellency, you mentioned several times about open door policy. Today, very popular became opinion the door is open, but the way it's so long. And the new concept, could it make this way a little bit short for Georgia, for Ukraine? And another question is, we spoke today about stabilities in Balkans, in Black Sea regions, but on same time we have seen a deal between alliance member states and Russia about 4 Mistrals which could be used on the Black Sea regions. Your comments about it. Thank you.
Concerning Georgia and Ukraine, firstly, to agree that Turkey could approach the European Defence Agency. Secondly, conclude a security agreement between Turkey and the European Union. And thirdly, that the European Union pursues the same policies as NATO when the European Union conducts military operations like the one in Bosnia, the Althea operation. The European Union is responsible for this operation, but non-EU countries also contribute. However, the European Union has not involved non-EU troop contributing countries in the decision-making process, which is very strange, actually. In Afghanistan, we have an ISAF coalition. NATO, 28 NATO countries plus 16 partners. We involve our non-NATO partners in the decision-making process. Why couldn't the European Union do the same? This is not only about Turkey, because there are other non-EU troop contributing countries. But I have to tell you that Turkey is the second largest contributor to the EU mission in Bosnia. But the EU will not accept that Turkey is included or involved in the decision-making process. It doesn't make sense. That could be done on the EU side to accommodate some Turkish and other non-EU member states' concerns. Then, of course, we also have to acknowledge that Cyprus is actually a part of the European Union. So this is the political part of it. It's quite easy to describe the solution. It's much more complicated to achieve a solution, but I will work hard to make progress.
Thank you very much. I have two speakers on my list, and I would love to add my own question, but first, Ambassador von Pletz.
Minister Tchaikovsky, when you talked about re-engagement with Russia, you used a term which I think has not yet found its way into NATO communiques or strategies. You talked about military predictability as a goal of engagement. Could you elaborate on that?
Well, we had a productive discussion about this yesterday, and but the Secretary General knows from our correspondence that, for example, some of the exercises that have been conducted close to our borders did not give us the kind of idea of what Russia wants to become for NATO that we would wish. There is also the issue of sub-strategic nuclear armaments and the means of delivery. Here we applaud the efforts of President Obama at the strategic level, and I hope the START agreement is concluded. But we will then have a somewhat disproportionate situation, particularly in this part of Europe, with tactical munitions. And I regret the fact that CFE arrangements have lapsed, because they included the kind of inspection mechanisms that gave us the predictability. If you recall the discussion over Polish-American plans to allow Polish territory for a base of the MDI system, we have now agreed a new text of the agreement to accommodate a new version of the system. But in order to reassure Russia, we voluntarily offered intrusive inspection rights to the facility so that our Russian friends would have the confidence that only those things that are declared are happening at the base. And we would welcome a similar attitude on the Russian side. Since we are partners, since we are together in the NATO-Russia Council, since we want the NATO-Russia Council to deal with real issues, well, that's an issue. Inspection, predictability, provocative exercises, those are the kinds of things that I think should be discussed there in a frank manner. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Andrzej Michta.